Many technological solutions are available to election officials via the internet. Election officials can use the internet as an expensive tool to reach out to voters, and it is particularly effective for reaching out to younger voters who receive the majority of their information online. The use of different forms of technology in the electoral process is on the rise. Many countries use information and communication technology to try to improve their election process when thinking about free and able election. However, there is a tendency to think about evil and I think. However, there are many phases during the electoral cycle where some form of ICT and many countries around, including some new democracies, use form of electronic registration and identification, such as through the use of biometrics. The tabulation and publishing of the result can also be done with ICT. There is also the possibility to use ICT to support the process of registration.
While discussing these new technologies, one should be aware that the most of the ICT that is used is not seen by the voters. Since it is only used by the election administrators, these are applications such as electoral register and software for the registration of parties and candidates, and for the tallying and calculation of the result. However, voters are also confronted with ICT in some countries, where forms of e-voting have been introduced. This can range from purely simple forms such as scanner that counts of the ballot as the voter puts in the ballot box, to the use of voting computers in the polling station, but also remote voting through the internet. Although forms of electronic voting, registration, or tabulation might be used to enhance turnout or help with the counting and tabulation process, it used raises questions about the governance of the electoral process. An election in which technologies is used requires a greater technical knowledge. If an electoral management body does not have this knowledge, it may have to rely on private companies to assist it in running the electoral process. However, a private company, unlike an impartial EMB, could have vested interest in the outcome of the election, raising in the issues of impartiality.
Additionally, a private company cannot be held to the same standard of independence, transparency, and accountability that is required of governmental bodies. A lot is at stake after an election, especially due to different attitude between the winners and the loser and the fairness of that election. If both sides see the outcome of the election as a result of a fair, legitimate process, more likely that they will trust the government and more satisfied with the democracy as a whole. This raises question on how technology is used in the election process and who has ownership and knowledge of it despite the importance of this topic. There have been no cross-national study of the use of election technology. This article first described the existing literature on this topic. It then reports the data from an international survey of electoral management bodies with data from 72 countries.